Deep inside a secret Pokémon laboratory, the world's most powerful Pokémon, Mewtwo, is being held captive while scientists perform dangerous experiments on it. But a sudden short circuit sets it free. At the same time, a car races out of the facility, and Mewtwo immediately chases after it. Moments later, it attacks the vehicle, causing a devastating crash. Elsewhere, a young man named Tim Goodman is at a Pokémon training field with his friend, Jake. Since Tim doesn't have a Pokémon partner, Jake encourages him to catch a Cubone, but Tim has no interest in becoming a Pokémon trainer. Ignoring his protests, Jake hands him a Pokeball and sends him toward the Pokémon. Tim nervously throws the Pokeball, but Cubone instantly breaks free. Clearly not impressed, it attacks Tim, forcing both friends to run for their lives. Right then, Tim gets a call from the police. His father, Detective Harry Goodman, has died in a car accident. Although the news is painful, Tim and his father were never very close. After losing his mother years ago, the two slowly drifted apart. Even so, Tim travels to Rhyme City to collect Harry's belongings. Rhyme City was built by Howard Clifford, who dreamed of creating a place where humans and Pokémon could live together in harmony. At the police department, Tim meets Harry's longtime partner, Detective Yoshida, along with his Pokémon, Snubbull. Yoshida asks why Tim doesn't have a Pokémon partner. Tim explains that he wanted to be a Pokémon trainer as a kid, but those dreams faded long ago, and now he works as an insurance salesman. Before leaving, Yoshida tells Tim that Harry was an extraordinary detective and reminds him that he'll always have people he can rely on. Tim thanks him, takes the key to Harry's apartment, and leaves. As Tim checks Harry's mailbox, he's approached by a young reporter named Lucy Stevens and her Psyduck. Lucy says she's been waiting for someone to open Harry's mailbox because she believes his death wasn't an accident. She explains that Harry had uncovered evidence of a massive conspiracy before his crash. Unfortunately, Tim can't help because he hasn't spoken to his father in years. With no new information, Lucy heads off to continue her investigation. Inside the apartment, Tim begins sorting through Harry's belongings. Among them, he finds a letter Harry had written for him and a strange purple gas vial. Curious, he accidentally opens it, filling the apartment with mysterious gas. He quickly opens the windows before hearing strange noises coming from another room. When Tim steps outside to investigate, he comes face to face with Pikachu, Harry's Pokémon partner. Tim is shocked to discover he can actually understand everything Pikachu says. Even Pikachu can't believe it because everyone else only hears him saying, "Pika, Pika." Before they can figure out what's happening, several Ipoms suddenly attack. The purple gas has driven them into a violent frenzy. Tim and Pikachu barely escape as the crazed Pokémon chase them through the streets. But just as suddenly as the attack began, the gas wears off and the Apom return to normal. Completely shaken, Tim runs into a crowded marketplace and desperately tries to convince everyone that Pikachu can talk. Unfortunately, to everyone else, it just sounds like he's having a conversation with a regular Pokémon. Within seconds, the entire crowd starts looking at him like he's completely crazy. Pikachu tells Tim that he was Harry Goodman's Pokémon partner. Then he takes him to a nearby cafe because he can't think without coffee. As Tim talks to Pikachu, everyone around them thinks he's talking to himself. Pikachu insists they have to find Harry, but Tim tells him his father died in the crash. Pikachu refuses to believe it. He points out that Harry's body was never found, meaning there's still a chance he's alive. Tim says he didn't come to Rhyme City to find his father, he only came to say goodbye. But Pikachu reminds him that Tim can talk to humans, he can talk to Pokémon, and somehow they can understand each other. That can't be a coincidence. Realizing Pikachu might be right, Tim finally agrees to help. Back at Harry's apartment, they begin searching for clues. Pikachu notices pictures of the same woman all over the place, and Tim reveals she's his mother, who passed away when he was 11. After her death, he moved in with his grandmother and slowly grew apart from Harry. The next morning, Pikachu has completely trashed the apartment while searching for evidence. Among the mess, he finds another R gas vial and realizes it's the same substance that turned the Apom violent. Remembering Lucy's investigation, Tim decides she's their best lead. Meanwhile, Howard Clifford announces Rhyme City's biggest Pokémon parade, while his son Roger is clearly unhappy with the plan. Tim and Pikachu meet Lucy, who tells them Harry's secret informant can be found at the docks. There, they run into Mr. Mime. Since he only communicates through imaginary actions, Tim plays along with his act until Mr. Mime finally gives them a clue, pointing them toward an underground arena called the Roundhouse. Inside the Roundhouse, illegal Pokémon battles are taking place. A trainer named Sebastian recognizes Pikachu and offers to answer their questions, but only if Pikachu fights his Charizard first. Before the battle starts, Sebastian secretly exposes Charizard to R-gas, making it extremely aggressive. Tim tells Pikachu to use Thunderbolt, but Pikachu realizes he's forgotten all of his moves. Charizard quickly overpowers him, forcing Tim to jump into the arena to save him. During the struggle, Sebastian's R-gas vials break open, filling the arena with gas. Within seconds, every Pokémon inside loses control, and the entire place erupts into chaos. As the chaos settles down, Tim questions Sebastian about the mysterious R-gas. Sebastian admits he doesn't know much. The only thing he's heard is that a certain doctor created it. Before he can say anything else, Charizard attacks again, forcing Tim and Pikachu to make a narrow escape. Moments later, the police arrive and arrest everyone involved. Tim is taken to Detective Yoshida, where he desperately tries to convince him that Harry is still alive, but Yoshida isn't buying it. Instead, he shows Tim the official footage of Harry's car crash. After seeing the wreck for himself, Tim finally starts believing his father really is gone. Overwhelmed with guilt, he realizes he wasted years staying away from Harry when he should have been spending time with him. Seeing how devastated Tim is, Pikachu does his best to lift his spirits. Just then, one of Howard Clifford's assistants arrives and brings Tim to Howard himself. Howard reveals something shocking. The mysterious R-gas was secretly developed by his own son, Roger Clifford. Roger never believed humans and Pokémon should live together, so he created the chemical to turn Pokémon into violent monsters. Harry had been investigating that very conspiracy before he disappeared. Tim asks why Howard never stopped his son. Howard explains that after becoming paralyzed, Roger gradually took control of the company and began carrying out his own plans behind Howard's back. Then Howard shows Tim an advanced holographic recording from the night of Harry's accident. The footage reveals that Harry actually survived the crash, and Pikachu was right there beside him. Moments later, Mewtwo appears. Howard explains that Mewtwo is the most powerful Pokémon ever created, engineered in a laboratory using the DNA of an ancient Mew. The hologram shows Mewtwo wiping Pikachu's memory before taking Harry away. Howard tells Tim that if he wants to find his father, he has to find Mewtwo first. Determined to continue the investigation, Tim meets Lucy at a cafe. She tells him she hacked into Roger's company files and discovered a secret Pokémon research laboratory. Just a week earlier, the lab was destroyed in a mysterious accident. The very same night, Harry disappeared. Believing the lab holds the answers, Tim, Pikachu, and Lucy head there immediately. Inside, they discover dozens of Pokémon locked in cages, all of them being used for illegal experiments. Unknown to them, Roger is secretly watching everything through the lab's security cameras. While Lucy gathers photographic evidence, Tim and Pikachu explore deeper into the destroyed facility until they find a damaged laboratory filled with holographic recordings. The recordings reveal the horrifying truth. A scientist named Dr. Laurent successfully created Mewtwo using ancient Mew DNA, with Harry helping during the project. They also learn that Dr. Laurent invented the R-Serum, the chemical capable of driving Pokémon into uncontrollable rage. On top of that, she even designed a device to control Mewtwo's mind. But before the experiment could be completed, a massive short circuit freed Mewtwo. It immediately turned on the scientists and killed Dr. Laurent before escaping. After seeing the footage, Pikachu assumes Harry must have been involved in the experiments, which is why Mewtwo kidnapped him out of revenge. Before they have time to process what they've learned, they hear Lucy screaming. She has been captured by genetically enhanced Greninja, activated remotely by Roger. Tim quickly rescues her, and the three barely escape the collapsing laboratory as the Greninja relentlessly chase them. Thinking fast, Tim deliberately angers Lucy's Psyduck. Overwhelmed by stress, Psyduck unleashes an enormous psychic explosion that blasts everyone across the area, giving them just enough time to escape the Greninja. But their escape doesn't last long. Suddenly, the ground begins shaking violently beneath their feet. Massive chunks of earth rise into the air as the entire forest seems to come alive. While desperately running for safety, they notice a gigantic eye opening beneath them. That's when the terrifying truth hits them. This isn't an ordinary forest at all. They're standing on the backs of gigantic Torterra, whose bodies have grown to unbelievable sizes because of the experiments. Moments later, the ground collapses beneath them, sending everyone crashing into the water below. Once the danger passes, the enormous Torterra slowly calm down, allowing Tim, Pikachu, and Lucy to continue their search for Harry. After climbing out of the water, Tim realizes Pikachu has been badly injured and is barely conscious. Terrified of losing his new friend, Tim desperately begs a nearby Bulbasaur for help. Lucy points out that Bulbasaur can't understand him, but Tim refuses to give up. He believes Pokemon can still understand emotions, even without words. Moments later, several Bulbasaur appear and lead Tim deep into a hidden valley, while Lucy is forced to stay behind. There, they place Pikachu on a sacred stone just as Mewtwo suddenly appears. Using its incredible powers, Mewtwo completely heals Pikachu. Tim immediately demands to know what happened to his father. Mewtwo begins showing them the truth through its memories. It reveals that Pikachu actually helped Mewtwo escape from the laboratory, and after Harry's car crashed, Mewtwo tried to save them because it knew humans, not Pokemon, were responsible for the attack. Before Mewtwo can reveal the whole truth, Roger suddenly arrives with a special device that captures Mewtwo and takes it away. Feeling responsible for everything that happened, Pikachu blames himself for Harry's disappearance. Convinced he's only putting Tim in danger, he decides to leave. Tim desperately tries to stop him, insisting none of this is his fault. But Pikachu accidentally shocks Tim with his electricity, making him even more convinced they're better off apart. Heartbroken, Pikachu walks away, leaving Tim behind. Back in Rhyme City, preparations for the massive Pokemon parade are already underway. Tim asks Lucy to expose Roger's conspiracy to the public while he goes to warn Howard Clifford. Meanwhile, Pikachu returns to the site of Harry's car crash. There, he discovers one of Greninja's throwing stars. That's when the truth finally clicks. The Greninja were the ones who attacked Harry's car, and Mewtwo wasn't chasing them to hurt them. It was trying to save them. Realizing he's been wrong all along, Pikachu rushes back to find Tim, but by the time Tim reaches Howard, he uncovers the biggest twist of the entire story. Howard was the real mastermind from the very beginning. He reveals that he secretly captured Mewtwo and uses a special neural device to take control of its body. Now possessing Mewtwo's incredible powers, Howard admits that Harry discovered the truth, so he ordered the attack on his car after Harry and Pikachu helped Mewtwo escape. Howard then reveals his ultimate plan. He believes humans can only evolve by merging with Pokemon, and Mewtwo is the only Pokemon powerful enough to make that happen. However, the process only works if the Pokemon are under the influence of R gas. Tim instantly realizes what that means. Every parade balloon is filled with R gas. He immediately bursts one of the balloons, releasing the gas across Rhyme City. Within moments, Pokemon all over the city become violently aggressive, while Howard uses Mewtwo's powers to fuse people's souls with their partner Pokemon. Just then, Pikachu finally arrives in the city. Lucy, whose soul has been transferred into Psyduck's body, tells him that Howard, not Roger, is the real villain. Without wasting another second, Pikachu charges straight toward Mewtwo, setting the stage for the movie's final battle. When Tim regains consciousness, he's relieved to see Pikachu standing beside him, but before they can celebrate, they hear strange noises coming from another room. As Tim opens the door, the real Roger Clifford stumbles out, tied up and locked inside. That's when the truth is finally revealed. Roger was never the villain. The person everyone thought was Roger was actually Howard's ditto, perfectly disguised as him the entire time. The fake Roger immediately attacks Tim, trying to stop him, but the real Roger jumps in and saves him. Tim seizes the opportunity and rips the control device off Howard's head. Instantly, Howard loses control of Mewtwo, which returns to its true form while Howard is thrown back into his own body. At the same moment, Pikachu loses his footing and begins falling from the tower. Just before he hits the ground, Mewtwo catches him and safely brings him back. With Howard defeated, Mewtwo uses its powers to undo everything that happened across Rhyme City. Every human separated from their Pokemon, the effects of the R gas disappear, and the city finally returns to normal. Moments later, the police arrest Howard, bringing his plan to an end. With the truth exposed, Lucy's investigation becomes the biggest story in the city. Impressed by her work, Roger promotes her, and she happily invites Tim out to dinner, making it clear the two have started developing feelings for each other. Then Mewtwo approaches Tim with one final surprise. The father Tim had been searching for was actually beside him the entire time. Harry Goodman had been inside Pikachu all along. Mewtwo explains that after Harry's accident, it saw the goodness in his heart. To save his life, it protected Harry's body while transferring his consciousness into Pikachu until it could fully heal him. Now that everything is over, Mewtwo finally restores Harry to his human body. The next day, Tim is ready to return to his grandmother's house, and Harry comes to see him off. But after everything they've been through, Tim realizes he doesn't want to lose his father again. Instead of leaving, he decides to stay in Rhyme City with Harry and even follow in his footsteps by becoming a detective.